The competition between the US and its eastern rivals, namely Russia and China, is entering new domains. Washington is set to strengthen its military grip in Africa, a move that's meant to counter Moscow and Beijing's growing influence on the continent. The issue is proposed in a sweeping defense bill that will be debated in Congress as soon as Thursday. If passed, the National Defense Authorization Act will be the first security initiative openly authorized by Congress since the Cold War to funnel military aid to African forces to counter Beijing and Moscow. The proposal lays the new groundwork for a long-term bid to expand US military influence in Africa.
They don't care about development. They may say they want to see this and that, but all their work is on implementing their democracy and their conception of human rights on African nations and some military support. And rather than seeing the enemy as poverty in Africa, they see the enemy as Russia and China. Very stupid, very foolish, but unfortunately, that's the way United States leaders are thinking right now.
Back in 2013, when AFRICOM was first established, only 2 African countries showed a willingness to host American bases. But now, even South Africa, which once led a campaign against American intervention on the continent, has hosted drills with the US. But that's a cause for concern, particularly considering the spike in coup attempts in East and West Africa, areas that host the largest concentration of US bases. At least 7 coups over the past 13 years have reportedly involved troops trained under AFRICOM. The US maintains its military presence in Africa under the pretext of fighting terrorism, but human rights groups say civilians have been caught in the crossfire and casualties from US airstrikes are higher than have been reported. The United States' increased foothold in Africa has raised concerns, as the country hasn't had a good track record even when it comes to delivering on its stated claims of fighting terrorism. Take Somalia, for example, where the US has been conducting airstrikes against al-Shabaab terrorists for a decade. Despite the US attacks, al-Shabaab has proven resilient and is still able to carry out high-profile attacks in the country and neighboring states such as Kenya. In addition, rights groups have long accused AFRICOM of shrouding its operations in secrecy and denying accountability for civilians killed in its airstrikes. The US has failed to provide an accurate tally of the equipment and resources it has sent to US Africa Command partner nations in its most recent audit. That has raised concerns that the equipment might have fallen into the wrong hands. The US military clearly has accountability issues in Africa. The question is, why isn't Washington taking any initiative to improve the economies on the African continent to compete with China and Russia that are already working on several projects there?
In crude terms, either you have your foot on the other guy's throat or he has it on yours. And therefore, rather than seeing the world as the potential for expanding and developing the nations of the world, this Western geopolitical oligarchy says, no, we have to always remain on top, and everything they look at in the world is judged from this diseased geopolitical doctrine, which the British developed several hundred years ago.
What the US needs to keep in mind when making decisions about investing militarily in Africa are the lessons from the outcome of its 20-year-long war in Afghanistan, as all the American lives lost and all the funds spent there turn out to be for nothing.